Greetings, beautiful people. So I'm gonna make this video basically to let you guys know one of the greatest gifts that I have acquired, okay? And that is the ability to look at things as an observer, you know what I mean? And the reason I say this is because, see, I always hear people talking about you know, we're going into the fifth dimension. You know, you can go into the fourth dimension. You can do this. It's like we look at it in a way where we're like getting to an actual location. You know what I mean? But you know, one thing that I've come to realize is that we are multi-dimensional beings, and whether it's during an experience, let's say if you take a psychedelic or you have a mesmerizing spiritual experience during meditation, or VIB through your awareness in this 3D realm of reality, is what I've come to realize. You don't know it all, okay? But the moment that you come to that conclusion that you think you know it all, you close yourself off to information, okay? Now, let's say somebody decides to debate something I say, or challenge something I say, or even, let's say, even make a video about me, you know what I mean? I can feed the beast, okay? Because I've mentioned this before, where you know, the beast is basically what you're riding here in this 3D realm of reality, okay? You know, we have this whole fear around the number 666 and all this, and it's just all a misunderstanding, you know what I mean? But honestly, I appreciate anybody who comes to at least, you know, have a discussion about what I'm discussing. I'm not saying I know it all or everything I say is truth, because at the end of the day, nothing is true. Everything just comes down to a belief. You see, at the end of the day, it don't matter. You're still polarizing to some extent, you know what I mean? For you to be literally like completely neutral, you wouldn't even exist here in this 3D realm of reality, because at the end of the day, you still got to participate in the system somehow. You still got to participate in polarities. You still got to make money, even though you know that money is the physical manifestation of energy. And it's just an illusion. I mean, if you look at the $1 bill, the $100 bill, comes down to that. Man, stop interrupting me. I'm making a video. So check this out, man. I mean, how I look at it is like this. I look at things as an observer. I always hear it in you know, with everybody speaking, they'll be like, oh, you know, let's say the bodybuilding industry. You know, you can go up to somebody and say, hey man, you got bigger, what you been doing and stuff like that, and that person will be like, really, man? I don't feel like I got bigger, man. But you see them bigger, you know what I mean? Or let's say, for example, you tell a chick, hey, you lost a lot of weight, and she's like, no, I'm fat. But meanwhile, you really know that she lost weight and she looks really good, but meanwhile, she's not satisfied with herself, you know what I mean? And to some extent, that's good, because it keeps you motivated to keep doing more. But at the end of the day, you don't see your changes, or sometimes even your imbalances. So I look at every criticism as a constructive criticism. When you look at it in an observer point of view, or in a different perception, which to me, literally in that aspect, you're going into the fourth dimension. So speaking about people being multi-dimensional beings, isn't dimensions just a state of being? You know what I mean? Like, if I'm looking at something as an observer, somebody makes a video about me, I'm going to look at it as an observer. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to put my consciousness in the ego, where I'll be feeding the ego, because the ego is just going to think about comebacks. And then here's the energy draining part, and the whole point where you close yourself off to a different perception of things. You know what I mean? Everybody has different angles. Everybody was born in different positions in this universe. You know what I mean? So they have different angles of light that they want to share. And this is why I say, like, the sharing is always good when it comes to, you know, sharing your experience. It's not always going to be truth, or it may not always be fact. You know what I mean? It's just you sharing your experience and keeping the ego on the side. Okay, now, to some extent, we all use the ego even to make a video or to do anything in this life. You know what I mean? But the ego is something you're using, you're utilizing. It's a tool. Because at the end of the day, the ego was supposed to be used to keep you safe here. You know what I mean? It's supposed to let you know when you're hungry. It's supposed to let you know, it's supposed to, that's what you associate these five senses with. And it's the ego, you know what I mean? Does something feel hot or cold? If it's hot, you know you can't touch it because it's gonna burn you. If you're hungry, okay, you getting to know thyself literally is knowing the difference between if you're thirsty or hungry. But at the end of the day, it's a survival mechanism. You know what I mean? Do you need more sunlight? You have to know, these imbalances. Do you have enough melanin on your skin? You know what I mean? If you don't, you need to be in the sunlight a little bit more. What's the best sunscreen, or not sunscreen, I'm sorry, sunblock or sun protection? I can't even use sunscreen or sunblock, but what's the best way to prevent you from burning is literally getting a base. You see, when you do something in the beginning too intensively, it's gonna hurt. So everything does take step by step, okay? Now I have this name about myself, Zigzag, Mr. Intensity, okay? Look at the name Intense, like you're tense. You're always in that tense phase, you know what I mean? So I do always notice that I do speak fast, and I don't have that patience to listen to somebody who speaks too slow. I want to get to the point, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, here's what I learned, you know what I mean? And I learned it from watching somebody else's perception of things, you know what I mean? And even though I could have been offended, it's something where it's not to be offended about. I actually appreciate it because I was able to come down to this realization. If you eat fast, you get indigestion, okay? Now, when you talk slow, there's always people, even you hear it in religion, you'll always hear people, let's take a moment to appreciate this, and then let's have a moment of silence to appreciate this, you know what I mean? And they'll take a moment to digest whatever it is, the energy outside of you that you're trying to digest. But when you talk in a way where you talk a little slower, it's actually good because you get a chance to digest the information. And you know what it is though? I was able to digest information so well, but I've also noticed that they say patience is a virtue, you know what I mean? And that's something I lack. So I don't see my imbalances. And if somebody sees my imbalances, I appreciate that, because now I'm able to see it the same way you can't see things the way somebody else might see it. Like if I got fat or if I lost weight, you won't notice it until somebody points it out to you. Now you could take it to offense, or you could say, shit, you know what? Let me get to the gym. I didn't notice I was getting this fat. You know what I mean? But I'll look at it in the same way, in the same light, if I'm going to be an observer and somebody's pointing something out about me. Now, I did something that caused an effect, because there's always a law of cause and effect. But we all get manipulated by certain energies. And this is where you need to know if you're in control or out of control. Because here's the thing. There's thoughts everywhere. Now, I could have entertained a momentum that we were going in, where I would have to invest my energies into looking at his perception of things and then challenging it. You know what I mean? Instead, I'm more focused. I'm trying to get my energies to try to expand and grow so that I can contract, meaning that I can give out a good guide. Because here's the thing, I decide to put myself in a spotlight by making videos. You know what I mean? But it's not in a sense where it's like I'm feeding my ego in a way where I'm saying, hey, look at me type of thing. You know what I mean? I'm more doing it where I feel like, fuck, I'm going through things. And sometimes I talk to people and they don't even listen to me. So I feel like I'm screaming because I got something that I'm so aware of that I'm like, fuck, man, this illusion that we're living is a lie. I need to let people know. And then when I do let people know, they don't even listen because they're not in that frequency. You know what I'm saying? So right now I looked at this channel and this catalyst YouTube, which I appreciate because I'm able to connect in a way. It's literally astrally, because I'm not connecting personally, whether it be in an unfavorable way or a favorable way. But I control my situation by looking at things as an observer. You know what I mean? So I was able to diffuse a situation. And do you know what, man? As I was watching the video in the beginning, I felt tense because I see my name in a video, you know what I mean? And then I say to myself, fuck, let me breathe. I had to practice. This is where the art of breathing comes in. I started to breathe and I said, let me look at it as an observer, because maybe there's something here that I need to learn. Now, I did just that, and I was able to see that, number one, with more patience, I can absorb more information. Number two, different angles, different perceptions get you to understand, because here's the thing, everything here it comes down to an understanding. We need to understand each other. Since we can't telepathically and energetically connect, we have to try to make use of this language that we're using. This is why you see, if you look at hypnotherapists don't control people, they guide the mind. But then it can also be used to control. But controlling is not a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like we judge the people in power. You know what I mean? They do things through mind control and hypnosis. They got these 5G towers. If you didn't know, these 5G towers, okay, are there for a sort of mind control. Because you see, thoughts, you don't have thoughts. Thoughts have you. You get these thoughts. But you're an antenna. Depending on the frequency you're in, you'll attract whatever thoughts. But also, this is why I say that the diet is important, because these heavy metals, even the water you might be drinking, let's say if you're drinking water that has minerals, okay, but there's, at the end of the day, there's still synthetic minerals, and those synthetic minerals contain metals, okay? The same way that you know, when you ingest processed food, they contain metals. These metals are a conductor of electricity. That's why if you have certain minerals in water, you can conduct electricity out of it. And if you have distilled water, you cannot conduct electricity out of it, because it's just pure water. You know what I mean? So what do you think is happening to us? We become more amplified to a negative density of like noise pollution, let's say, and we become attracted to that because we're in a lower vibration. Or let's say if we're not in a state where, you know, we're not advanced in the way where we could get to know thyself, and everything goes by levels. You know what I mean? So let's say, for example, this is one thing I appreciate too. I listen to everybody as a student, because if I'm gonna click to a channel or a video, I need to click on it as a student. But a lot of people will click on a video and they'll try to look for something to debate on. And this is what the problem is. This is what I always try to tell people, like, look at things as an observer, because this is something that I am experiencing. I learned out of this. And observer mode is you being in the fourth dimension, because now you're looking at it as a judge. You know what I mean? But you're not look, because you see, this is all an illusion, right? We know that we are not our body, but whoever's talking about you is talking about your vessel. You know what I'm saying? So step out of your vessel and look at it as maybe there is something that that person sees that you don't see. Okay? And you can learn something from that. This is why I love connecting. I love connecting, and I love talking to people of like minds, because there's not a lot of people of like minds. I just recently came out of this bodybuilding world and bodybuilding industry where I was working with supplements, and the people that are in this industry are literally living the most inverted lifestyle you could possibly think of. You know what I mean? And talk about feeding the beast. They talk about, yeah, I'm on beast mode. You know what I mean? Like the muscles and shit. And you know what I mean? And listen, I work out to keep my body strong, and because I feel good looking a certain way. I keep my vessel clean. Just like if you keep your car clean, you want to keep your car clean, but you know you're not your car, but you keep your car clean. It's your physical possession, and it says a lot about you. If you have a dirty car, it says a lot about your personality. If you have a dirty house and I come to your house and it's dirty, it says a lot about your personality. So now this is my house, this is my vehicle, this is my car. So I'm going to keep it clean, but I'm also going to take pride into the reputation I have, but also the appearance that I have toward my vehicle. You know what I mean? And it's not just the appearance, but it's also internally keeping my house clean. You know what I mean? Now, you can pretty much take any like, let's say, thought. You know what I mean? If I would have entertained an unfavorable situation because I was in my ego, it's just more thoughts that go out there. And then looking at comments is another thing. See, the comments, instead of looking at it and observing both sides and taking the information from both sides, they form, like, it looks like a fan club. You know what I mean? Like, that's something else. But I'm going to tell you right now, everybody's in different levels, and I'm not in an advanced level. I'm in no way saying I'm in an advanced level, but my goal is to try to empower people in the now based on what's helping me out. Now, if there's something that I may need to change later as far as what I have spoken about, because it's maybe something in a way where I perceive it differently, because see, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I believed that you needed to eat meat and eat 6 times a day. You know what I mean? Now, there's nothing wrong with eating meat. At the end of the day, it's still a perception. You know what I'm saying? It's still a perception, because you can eat meat, and if you know how to manipulate those energies, and let's say people say, oh, I don't practice what I preach, or I practice what I preach. Like, if you eat meat, it doesn't necessarily mean that if I tell you don't eat meat, and then one day I eat meat, you're going to judge me. You know what I mean? You're going to judge me. But that's because you do not understand. You do not understand that because I tell somebody not to eat meat is because they're not probably in that level to understand how to manipulate energies. You know what I mean? I can tell you, through your darkness, you can create the brightest light. But what do you get out of that? You know what I mean? You can get out of that where I could tell you, if you go into a dark space, inner dark space, you can create a brighter light. Or if I'm in a dark room, I can see my flashlight more than I would on a sunny day outside, or people will notice my flashlight at night more than they would during the day, right? Or I could tell you, hey, if you work with dark energy, then you could create a brighter light, zigzagging, right? Understanding both sides, because if you don't understand the dark aspect of something, this is why they keep you in fear of it, because maybe going into that dark aspect, you could become a better creator because you create a better light. But it doesn't mean where I say, oh yeah, you have to work with darkness or you have to work with light. It just is. You're in the middle. You can work on both sides, but get to understand both sides before you even know what to utilize a tool for. You know what I mean? You don't use the same tool, you know what I mean, for different projects. For different projects, you utilize different tools. You may utilize a power tool for one or a hand tool for another. And you know what I mean? No need for a power tool. And it's just different tools. Everything's a tool. You know what I mean? Your vessel's a tool. This body is a tool. Without this body, I cannot exist here in this physical reality. And I noticed this, that why do spirits always want to inhabit vessels? I think that different spirits want to inhabit vessels because of the experience. But why? Because whatever you do here in this realm of reality, you're having an experience, but you become that experience. But the experience that they put you through here is working 40 hours, and then after the working 40 hours, you go home and get entertained by some fucking bullshit, or even television, which programs you. You know what I mean? And this is why I say, you become the experience. So we're here to become an experience. And then in other realms of reality, let's say, where it's just a state of being, all right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever dimension you want to go into, those are just different experiences. But we're tied here to this one. And if you can master all of the emotions here, going through the bads, the goods, this is what building the relationship is with this third dimension. Is not condemning it, saying, oh, they're trying to poison us, they're trying to this, because you're still wasting your energy. You know what I mean? Or even if somebody wants to criticize you. Now, if somebody's less aware and less conscious than I am of certain things, I'm not going to criticize them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to guide them. So if I see an imbalance in somebody, I'm not even going to give them an in-depth knowledge of what I know, because they're not going to be able to absorb that. That's like me teaching algebra to my 5-year-old. You know what I'm saying? The kids go to an indoctrination center, which is called school, right? And what do you do though? You have to guide them. And if you're aware, what you do is you protect what they're eating, because they're not in any way, shape, or form aware of what you could give them. McDonald's and they don't see nothing wrong with it. You can give them a piece of meat, they don't see nothing wrong with it. Or you can give them an apple and they're going to look at it the same way as you. But here's the thing though, they're going to be addicted to the other, because your vessel, okay, gets addicted. It's run by addiction, and this is why you lose control. And through the addictions, they give you the heavy metals and all that, where you become an antenna if you're not self-aware to the negative, or not even negative, the unfavorable frequencies here. Okay? Because it's just a big fucking shit of noise pollution out here. You know what I mean? And I mean, have a clear vessel, man, and look at everything with an open mind. I appreciate everybody that puts a video out, but I also believe that if I believe everybody should be sharing their angles of light or their different perceptions. You know what I mean? I learned from an unfavorable experience, okay? But again, I'm able to control the situation, because me feeding my ego in that situation, I would have been out of control. But I remained in control. So I didn't feed the beast, okay? Feeding the beast would have been me being in my ego and looking for a response. You know what I mean? And that's me investing my energies into something that's not serving me. or how is that serving anybody around me? You know what I mean? All it's gonna do is it's gonna create more of like a separation, an illusion of like of an unfavorable feeling. You know what I mean? How good did I feel when I was able to diffuse a situation? I was actually very happy. I was vibrating high. I was like, man, you know, it made me feel good. You know what I mean? It made me feel good. I'm not getting anything out of it, but I was able to gain self-satisfaction. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody litters in the street, am I gonna just, hey, pick that fucking shit up and start a fight with them? No. I may not even approach them. I may just pick it up behind them and throw it in the garbage. You know what I mean? I didn't get anything out of it, but it's a self-satisfaction that I was able to give, because I love plants. I love nature. And so much so that I started growing my own plants, and I get such a feeling when I see these plants in my house. And they're not house plants, they're actually food. I'm growing pineapples. And yesterday I was transplanting all these plants, and let me tell you something. The amount of worms and the size, this one worm looked like a fucking snake, all right, was in my pots, and they're in my house. They're not even outside. But what does that tell me? That there's so much nutrients, because I put eggshells, I put banana peels, I put coffee grounds, I put all the food scraps in my compost, and then I put that compost in, mixed in with the soil for my plants and the foods that I'm growing. I'm growing avocados, mangoes, pineapples, black beans, citrus. What am I growing? Grapefruits. I'm growing apples. I got a pear tree growing, and I grew all these from seed. You know what I mean? I know I'm not gonna see the fruits for a few years, but hey, listen, it's a start to me being a creator. But and I don't have the fruits right away. But man, the feeling that I'm getting in the process of doing it. Now, the feeling that I get in the process of making videos and putting these out, all right, I'm not getting money out of this, but it makes me feel good that at least, even like, let's say I just started my YouTube channel and 6, 7, or 8 people watch it, and they can get something out of it or not. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I feel good. And that's all that should matter. But everybody looks to find the feeling by external sources. You know what I mean? Or they'll look for a compliment, let's say. Maybe they'll say, oh, I don't feel like I'm skinny or anything, but they're looking for that compliment to make them feel good. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's how you feel. But being self-aware, you'll be able to know what's making you feel good and what's not. If something doesn't make me feel good, then I can have a choice to just get rid of it out of my existence. That's why if it doesn't matter, it cannot materialize, because matter is solid. So if something doesn't matter, I'm not going to let it matter in my reality. If I don't like a certain song I'm listening to, I can change the station. I don't have to force myself to listen to it in the car. So why should I have a certain frequency in my physical vessel that I'm not liking and force myself to listen to it? I can just change it, because everything is frequency, energy, and vibration, right? So the frequency affects your vibration, which is your soul. So I feel good that I don't need to feed into my ego in every kind of way. You changing dimensions is you changing your state of being. That's what going into different dimensions is. It has nothing to do with you physically going somewhere. You know what I mean? You're a multi-dimensional being. You could change the frequency and tune yourself into a different vibration, but we're always tuning ourselves to music that's distorted. We're always tuning or changing channels on the television that's programming you with a program. Keep an open mind on this.